I mean, my philosophy is you play to win. You don't play by half measure.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots, the channel where we follow the breadcrumbs and try to predict where disruptions will take us. In his masterpiece, The Prince, Niccolo Machiavelli warned that changing established systems is incredibly dangerous. When changes occur, those benefiting from the current order are strong, and they viciously fight to maintain the status quo. 500 years later, this warning perfectly describes the resistance that truly innovative technologies face. Disruption is hard, yet there's one person who seems to have cracked the code for systematic, successful disruption: Elon Musk. Look at his track record. PayPal transformed money movement. Tesla forced automakers to go electric. SpaceX made reusable rockets the norm. From satellite internet to brain interfaces, his companies systematically enter industries and turn them on their ear. This shouldn't be possible. Disrupting even one major industry requires immense resources, perfect timing, and luck. Yet Musk keeps doing it successfully, over and over. Today, we'll deconstruct his method. We'll trace his path from Zip2 and PayPal to our days. We'll analyze the engineering principles enabling these disruptions and reveal how seemingly separate innovations combine into a larger system. Most importantly, we'll see how all of this was just the prologue for even bigger disruptions that are about to unfold. If you like my videos, please smash that like button. It really helps if this happens early in the video. A huge thank you to my latest patrons. There are too many to read here, so I'll push the shout out to the end of the video. But wow, your support makes these deep dives possible, so thanks guys. And to all my incredible patrons, you guys rock. If you'd like to support the channel and get exclusive patron-only content, please subscribe to me on X or join me on Patreon starting at $1 a month. Now buckle up and get ready, because we are about to reverse engineer the systematic disruption of many industries, and disruptions are never boring. Chapter 1. Early Disruptions. Building the Foundation. A. Zip2. When I started planning this video, I planned to showcase all of Elon Musk's disruptions, from online payments and EVs to space, Neuralink, and beyond. But going through them raised a more interesting question. What enables Elon to disrupt industries? Sure, he's brilliant and works incredibly hard, but with so many disruptions, is there also a method to how he instigates change? To find out, let's start at the beginning. In 1995, before Tesla, SpaceX, or PayPal, most businesses didn't have websites. People used thick books called yellow pages to find services, and paper maps to find directions. A 24-year-old Elon Musk saw a better way. He envisioned a future where people would search for businesses online and get turn-by-turn directions to reach them. With his brother Kimball and Greg Khoury, who provided $6,000 in funding, Elon formed Global Link Information Network, later called Zip2. Working from a small office and doing all the coding himself, Elon created something revolutionary: an online business directory with integrated maps and directions. Looking at Zip2's original website and patents, we can see how advanced it was for 1995. The website used a moving map. This patent shows a system for generating personalized directions and embedding maps into web pages, and this one for performing radius searches around locations. While commonplace today, this technology was groundbreaking then, enough to disrupt both yellow pages and traditional mapping services simultaneously. This early disruption shows a pattern we'll see repeatedly: identifying industries ripe for disruption and applying technology to completely reimagine them. When disruption happens, incumbents usually dismiss it, and by the time they realize there is a problem, it's usually too late. Think Nokia dismissing the expensive iPhone 1, or Blockbuster refusing to invest in Netflix. Let's hear what happened when Elon and Kimball tried to get the local Yellow Pages to cooperate with them.
I remember talking to a Yellow Pages guy once, and it was amazing. It was the head of the Toronto Star that they owned all the Yellow Pages.
The Yellow Pages will never die. Famous last word.
Literally, because we went and talked to him to partner. We said we want to partner with you, and let's be one of your partners to put the Yellow Pages online. And he picked up the Yellow Pages, this book, this big thick book that's full of ads, this multi-billion-dollar revenue stream.
I mean, these guys were so arrogant and so like, we are the kings of the world and Seriously. It will never end.
He picked up this book and he threw it at me. And he said, "Do you ever think you're going to replace this?" And I was just literally like, I mean, my head is like, dude, you're already dead.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
As the saying goes,
big mistake. Big. Huge.
Undeterred, Elon worked around the clock. sleeping in the office and showering at a local YMCA. This demonstrates a pattern we'll see repeatedly: Musk's willingness to go all in on his ventures. The hard work brought huge results. Within 4 years, Zip2 grew to 400 employees, serving millions of users and thousands of businesses. Before going on, let's establish the basis for disruptions. As engineers constantly strive to build better solutions, there are two distinct scenarios. In competitive markets, a slightly better product will win some sales. But in entrenched markets, being just better isn't enough. The incumbent's moats will destroy any newcomer that isn't dramatically better. But disruption isn't about being slightly better. Technological disruption means that technological progress enables creating something significantly better, as in 10 times cheaper, faster, or more capable. This reveals a fascinating paradox. It's often easier to disrupt entrenched industries protected by deep moats than highly competitive ones. Since industries with moats have little competition, they rarely improve their products. So when a new product is good enough to cross these moats, it finds uncompetitive offerings that it completely obliterates. Consider phones in 2007. A new device with slightly better screen resolution couldn't hope to compete with Nokia's massive advantages. But the iPhone? It was so revolutionary that it simply leaped over their protective moats, and before Nokia realized what hit them, their fate was sealed. Yellow Pages were an entrenched industry, producing their yellow books since 1883. Since one book for a region is all that you need, they dominated their space and had little competition. But when Zip2 offered finding locations without the books and finding directions to these locations without the maps, then, as Kimball put it,
"Dude, you're already dead."
This pattern repeats across industries. The more entrenched and protected a market seems, the more vulnerable it becomes to technological disruption. The key is to find these gaps between what's possible with current technology and what incumbent companies are actually delivering to customers. As we will see throughout Elon's ventures, from Yellow Pages to banks and credit cards, and from automobiles to space, it is always the big dogs surrounded by moats which he intelligently disrupts. B. PayPal. When Compaq acquired Zip2 for $307 million, Musk didn't just pocket his $22 million share and play it safe. Instead, he immediately invested almost everything in his next venture, X.com, which would later become PayPal. This established another pattern we'll see throughout his career, using the resources from previous successes to go all in on the next bigger challenge. Going all in is far more important than it seems. Obviously, putting everything into a startup increases its probability of success and enables quicker progress. And yes, knowing the founder is risking his own money makes fundraising a lot easier. But the main effect is psychological. In his book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill tells how Alexander the Great, upon reaching Asia Minor, ordered his men to burn their ships. Once this was done, he addressed his men, saying that since the ships were gone, we cannot leave these shores alive unless we win. We now have no choice. We win or we perish. They won. Hill explains, every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn his ships and cut all sources of retreat. Only by so doing can one be sure of maintaining that state of mind known as a burning desire to win, which is essential to success. Other car makers weren't all in. Take GM. While they did plan to make electric vehicles, when the going got tough, they slowed EV expenditure and increased focus on profitable gas cars and hybrids. But with no ICE car safety net, and his entire net worth sunk in Tesla and SpaceX, Elon had no choice but to grind through all the problems and make electric vehicles work. Had Tesla's EVs failed, that would have finished Tesla, and if Tesla went down, he would have drowned as well. The same happened with SpaceX and with PayPal before them. By going all in, Elon creates the urgency needed to make the impossible happen. The PayPal story demonstrates this pattern of calculated but massive risks. Instead of carefully growing X.com, Musk merged with his main competitor, Confinity. This was incredibly risky because merging with your rival rarely works. But as Elon says, it's only the pace of innovation that matters, and merging with Confinity accelerated both companies' timelines by years. The combined company then transformed how money moves online. In the late 1990s, sending money meant writing checks or expensive wire transfers. Credit cards worked in stores but weren't designed for person-to-person payments, and giving your credit card details online was a risky bet on trust. The banking system was built for a pre-internet world. Coming from tech rather than finance, Elon realized that money isn't physical notes. It's just bits of information stored on secure servers. And if information could move instantly online, why couldn't money?
Money is low bandwidth and digital, effectively, mostly digital. So it's like, what can we do to make money work better? And like, money, in my view, is essentially an information system for labor allocation. So it has no power in and of itself. It's like a database for for guiding people as to what they should do. And so you can think of banks as a set of heterogeneous databases that are actually not very secure. And certainly the monetary system, the transfer system of checks is very insecure, still is insecure. So are credit cards. And it's still mostly batch processing, and it was entirely batch processing that day. So it was not, so payments were, or money was this like heterogeneous, high latency, low security collection of databases. That's what banks are. And so just from an information theory standpoint, this should be something that can be much better if it can be real time, secure, and just very fast. And essentially, it's just one real-time database. So that's what X.com was.
PayPal solved this by creating a parallel financial system operating atop existing infrastructure, a pattern we'll see repeatedly in Musk's ventures. This provided crucial insights about rebuilding complex regulated systems. Rather than trying to change an old system's constraints, create a new layer that makes them irrelevant. Think of traffic. If everyone's trying to get ahead on a road full of speed bumps and stoplights, don't try to optimize your drive to finish slightly faster. Against established players, that's a losing game. Instead, build a parallel road that's straight and clear, letting you put the pedal to the metal and make progress as fast as you can. PayPal demonstrated another key pattern. Disruption always happens from the outside, so start where resistance is weakest, then grow. Instead of directly competing with banks, PayPal focused on what they ignored: online purchases, micropayments, and eBay users who had no good alternatives. While PayPal ultimately focused just on payments, Elon had grander plans for X.com.
I was never a huge fan of PayPal as a name. The reason being that I thought it made sense for the company to kind of
broader,
be much broader. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you limit yourself to payments, then necessarily people want to transfer money out of the system. And as soon as they transfer money out of the system, the efficiency of the database drops dramatically, because now you're in the traditional banking world. So if you just offer all the things that, if you just basically address all the reasons why people are taking money out of the PayPal system, so you have to provide them with checks so that you have a bridge to the legacy transaction system. You got to provide them with a debit card, provide them with the ability to get a loan and that kind of thing. But these are all ancillary to accelerating the velocity and accuracy and security of payments. Then if basically PayPal would be where all the money is. It would just suck all the money out of the banks, and the banks would go away.
He envisioned an everything system covering every aspect of our lives. If the system enabled all transactions to be in one place, money would stay within the system's databases without leaving. We're only now seeing this vision return through X's rapidly growing capabilities. Despite being limited to online payments, PayPal's impact was huge. It revolutionized commerce and jump-started the entire online economy. Elon has perfected a pattern for disruption: identify industries where customers are stuck with subpar, overpriced solutions, and use technology to deliver something exponentially better. Think PayPal for online commerce, Tesla for cars, and SpaceX for satellite launches. And now, that same level of disruption is coming to international mobile connectivity. Think about it. For decades, we accepted an absurd reality. Landing in a new country meant paying astronomical roaming fees or scrambling to find a local SIM card, often from sketchy vendors outside airports. It's a system that served the incumbents but left travelers unhappy. That's where Saily, the sponsor of this video, comes in. They've taken this universal travel headache and eliminated it entirely. One app download, one digital setup, and you're ready for 160 countries. No physical cards, no airport queues, and no questionable street vendors. The experience feels almost magical. Test it abroad, and the phone connects before even reaching the baggage claim. No roaming fees, no hunting for SIM cards, and no configuration headaches. Just seamless, affordable connectivity managed through an intuitive app. This is the kind of disruption that seems obvious in hindsight. Why did we accept excessive roaming fees when local data is so cheap? Why did we hunt for physical SIM cards when our phones can switch networks digitally? The cost difference is striking too, typically 70 to 80% less than traditional roaming. Disruption never felt this smooth. Get an exclusive 15% discount on Saley eSIM data plans. Download the Saley app and use code DOTS at checkout. That's 15% off with code DOTS on all data plans. C. Starting Tesla and SpaceX. PayPal's lessons proved invaluable for Tesla. In 2004, electric cars were seen as glorified golf carts, and with huge moats in place, the auto industry seemed resistant to disruption. Massive capital requirements, complex regulations, entrenched companies enjoying economies of scale, and established dealer networks made it hard for any newcomer to survive. But Elon applied PayPal's layered disruption model. Instead of competing head-on with other car companies, like Nissan did with the Leaf, Tesla entered through high-performance vehicles where competition was thin. The Roadster wasn't just a sports car. It proved electric powertrains could fundamentally outperform combustion engines. Physics was on their side. Electric motors deliver instant torque across all speeds, enabling performance that combustion engines simply can't match. Looking at these early disruptions, clear patterns emerge. Target entrenched industries protected by moats. Start in underserved niches where incumbents are weakest. Use technical innovation to build significant advantages. Reinvest successes into bigger challenges. Tesla executed this perfectly. Roadster proved EVs could outperform gasoline cars. S and X showed they could be luxurious and practical. And then 3 and Y brought this to the mass market. SpaceX followed similar steps. Rather than competing directly with established aerospace companies, they initially focused on smaller payloads and NASA contracts. Succeeding in orbital launch enabled growth into reusable rockets, and now into Starship and potentially Mars. But these were just the beginning. As we'll see next, the real innovation came in scaling these disruptions into complete ecosystems that incumbents would find nearly impossible to fight. Chapter 2. Scaling Up. Systems Thinking.
I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So the normal way that we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. We're doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it's like what other people are doing. And it's kind of mentally easier to reason by analogy rather than from first principles. But first principles is kind of a physics way of looking at the world. And what that really means is you kind of boil things down to the most fundamental truths and say, okay, what are we sure is true, or as sure as possible is true? And then reason up from there. That takes a lot more mental energy.
Individual products don't change industries. Systems do. And this is where Musk's approach to disruption enters another level entirely. Instead of just building better cars or cheaper rockets, he systematically reimagined entire industries from first principles. Take Tesla, for example. While other automakers treated electric vehicles as compliance cars, Tesla understood they needed to build an entire ecosystem for sustainable transport. The challenge wasn't just engineering great electric cars. It was solving a classic chicken and egg problem. Without widespread charging infrastructure, few people would buy electric cars. But without electric cars on the road, who would invest in building charging networks? Other automakers faced this dilemma too, but their response was to wait and see. If charging infrastructure didn't materialize, they'd have the perfect excuse to keep selling profitable gas cars. But all in on EVs and with no internal combustion sales to fall back on, Tesla couldn't afford to wait. They had to build it themselves. This ties into a core principle across Elon's companies. Never let others control your destiny. If possible, they source from multiple suppliers, like getting batteries from Panasonic, CATL, BYD, and others simultaneously. And if that's not enough, they build it themselves. Instead of waiting for others, Tesla created their own fast charging network, transforming from a pure car company into an energy infrastructure powerhouse. But Tesla was just getting started. Realizing battery supply would become their biggest bottleneck, they built the Gigafactory, the world's largest building by footprint at the time. Going by analogy, mainstream media and analysts thought this feat was crazy, but this connects to another of Elon's ideas. Never go by analogy, only by first principles. From there, Tesla went even deeper, securing mineral rights, creating new battery chemistries, producing their own batteries, and even building a lithium refinery. Each move systematically removed another external dependency and increased Tesla's control of their own future. The sales model followed the same pattern. Remember how we previously discussed how when everybody's trying to get ahead on a road full of speed bumps and stoplights, Elon works to build a clear, open road? With other makers' EV plans at the mercy of their dealers, Tesla started selling directly to customers. This wasn't just about saving money, it gives Tesla control and enables rapid iteration based on customer feedback and analyzing service data. Controlling the entire system from minerals to maintenance lets Tesla gain insights other manufacturers simply cannot match and innovate at the speed of thought.
Nobody I've ever heard of could make 13 changes in less than 3 months. This is like staggering. How do they do that? I think they do it because their heritage is not looking at model years, and they don't care about, they don't seem to care about pride and stuff like that. If there's something new or good or right, they want to make that difference.
SpaceX takes this systems-first approach even further. While traditional aerospace companies try to perfect designs before testing, SpaceX embraces failure as a learning tool. While early testing provides spectacular explosion footage for my videos, it also generates invaluable data for rapid iteration. Traditional aerospace companies piece together components from hundreds of suppliers, but SpaceX builds about 80% of their rockets in-house. Why? Because true rocket science isn't about optimizing individual parts. It's about optimizing the entire system. Engineering is the art of compromise, where every design choice involves trade-offs. When different suppliers make different parts, development is siloed, and you can only make trade-offs locally within the part. But when you control the whole process, you can make smart compromises across the entire system. Want to trade some nozzle performance for pump improvement? With in-house production, that's an engineering discussion. With suppliers, it's a contract negotiation. Let me share a personal example. Last year, I started working on a spin-off of a world-renowned system I helped develop years ago. While studying it, I discovered several potential behaviors that could put many lives at risk. Digging through real-world recordings showed this wasn't theoretical. These dangerous situations had already occurred with the existing system, and it was just a matter of time before our luck ran out and people died. Tracing the problems to an external subsystem, I reached out to the supplier with detailed documentation. Their response? Crickets. Lives were at stake, yet they didn't fix it. I was mission-driven, but they weren't. And the problem reeked of sloppy software engineering on the supplier's side. That would make any decent developer cringe, yet they showed no interest in solving the problem. And to make things worse, even after I'd practically handed them the solution, they didn't fix it and wouldn't even spend the time to check their code and tell us which options to block on our side as a makeshift patch. With our in-house systems, one discussion would have led to an immediate fix, or I would have fixed it myself when checking my theory. Instead, we spent weeks in heated discussions and PowerPoint presentations to higher management just to get the information required to patch it on our side. This perfectly demonstrates the power of Tesla's and SpaceX's vertical integration. When you control the entire system, everyone shares the mission. You can talk directly with problem solvers or even solve it yourself without wasting time on management presentations. Tesla and SpaceX can move at the speed of thought, not the speed of contracts and committees. This enables them to optimize everything, fix critical issues immediately, and innovate rapidly in ways traditional companies simply cannot match. The lesson is clear. Vertical integration isn't just about cost savings or supply chain control. It's about innovating faster, responding to problems immediately, and creating better products. At a time where the pace of innovation is all that matters, this advantage becomes more crucial every day. Chapter 3. Accelerating Disruption. The Flywheel Effect. Success compounds in fascinating ways, and Tesla's progress takes shape of a disruption flywheel, where each breakthrough not only transforms its target industry, but builds momentum for even bigger challenges. For example, the Roadster led to Models S and X, which enabled Models 3 and Y. You might say that all companies build on previous work, and that would be true. For example, Toyota's current plug-in hybrids clearly benefit from decades of hybrid experience. But Tesla's flywheel is fundamentally different. I see 4 key elements that set it apart. They're infinite, transparent, unbound, and cross-pollinated. A. Infinite.
He measures pretty much every major decision by whether or not it brings the day when we have a self-sustainable colony on Mars sooner or later. That's the prism by which he makes every single decision he makes it through that prism.
Jesus.
Yeah.
In my video about infinite companies, link in the description, I showed how Elon's ventures operate with unbelievably high goals and 1,000-year plans. SpaceX didn't just aim to compete in launches, Their goal is making humanity multiplanetary. Complete dominance of the launch industry is just a milestone along the way. Tesla follows the same pattern. They didn't set out to become another car company. Their mission was accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Having the world's best-selling car is just a byproduct, another stepping stone along the way. Be transparent.
I'm not sure if you know, but we open sourced our patents, so anyone who wants to use our patents can use them for free.
Your patents are open source?
Yeah. So if somebody comes and makes a better electric car than Tesla, and it's so much better than ours that we can't sell our cars and we go bankrupt, I still think that's a good thing for the world.
Most companies guard their technology and plans like state secrets. Tesla does the opposite. They lay out their entire playbook. In 2006, before the Roadster even hit production, they published their secret master plan. Build a sports car, use those profits for a premium sedan, then leverage that to create an affordable mass-market vehicle, and revolutionize zero-emission energy generation while you're at it. 10 years later, and with Plan 1 nearly completed, they doubled down with Master Plan Part 2. In this plan, they expanded to solar roofs, battery storage, entering all major automobile market segments, reaching autonomous driving, and running robo-taxis. By 2023, in Master Plan Part 3, they showed how to transition the entire world to sustainable energy. And throughout the years, they've opened patents to accelerate the EV transition, announced humanoid robots, and hosted several technology events showcasing their innovations. This radical transparency serves as an engineering talent magnet.
We recruit a lot of engineers from all parts of the world. I think Tesla has a good reputation for doing exciting engineering, and that tends to attract a lot of the top engineers in the world because they know that their efforts at Tesla will really serve the greater good, and we're super hardcore about engineering. Tesla is like first and foremost an engineering company. It's like hardcore engineering is what we do. Like the sheer amount of hardcore engineering done at Tesla is insane. And if you look at, say, there's various surveys done of engineering schools, where do you want to go? Like, what's your top choices? And actually, the top two choices the last few years have been Tesla and SpaceX. So sometimes it's Tesla first, sometimes SpaceX first, but those are the two top ones.
Tesla and SpaceX dominate aspirational employer polls for engineering students, with Tesla receiving nearly 6 million job applications in 2023 alone. Having access to the brightest minds, including exceptionals like Andrej Karpathy, dramatically accelerates innovation. Even breakthroughs like 4680 batteries were quickly shared with the world. Although helping other battery companies to produce these cells enables Tesla's competitors such as GM to reduce their costs, it broadens Tesla's supply chain and provides access to additional capacity at reduced costs. This makes it a win-win for all, and as shown in my Infinite Companies video, infinite companies don't try to get competitors to lose, they only care about accelerating their own long-term goals. See Unbound.
We're going to have to cut prices, margins are going to get cut, and people are going to see this is just a car company. This is just a car company. This is just a car company.
The third element is that Elon's companies aren't bound to specific fields. With long-term plans, change is inevitable, so infinite companies embrace it. Every major update brings the company closer to their mission, but the paths they take can change dramatically. SpaceX remains focused on making us interplanetary, but lowering launch costs opened the door to Starlink, a global communications company. Similarly, Tesla started with EVs, but mastering battery management enabled Powerwall and Megapacks. With solar panels and roofs, Tesla provided end-to-end energy solutions and is currently growing into a utility company. This disruption pattern is particularly fascinating from an engineering perspective. While textbooks show clean examples like Apple versus Nokia or Netflix versus Blockbuster, real disruption is messier and harder to spot. Even now, with EV sales constantly growing and Model Y the world's best-selling car, many fail to see the disruption and view EVs as a doomed government experiment. In the energy sector, however, we can clearly watch disruption unfold in real time. Take the engineering challenge of flattening the duck curve, where throughout the day there are dramatic swings in both demand and supply of energy. The traditional solution was brute force. Build peaker plants whose sole purpose is providing extra juice during peaks. But since turbines need time to spool up, and energy is needed just in time, these plants run far longer than needed, like keeping a backup generator running several hours just in case it is needed for a few minutes' use. Tesla's solution is elegantly simple. Megapacks are giant battery packs which function as grid-scale energy storage and arbitrage systems. They charge when power is cheap and abundant, then feed it back to the grid during peak demand. From an engineering standpoint, it's beautiful. The same battery management principles powering cars now stabilize entire power grids. The market impact is decisive. Turbine manufacturers are shutting down peaker plant turbine lines. Several existing peaker plants are being converted to sustainable energy and storage. We're witnessing that rare moment when superior technology crosses the tipping point and begins rapidly displacing its predecessor. This pattern keeps repeating at larger scales. Tesla Energy is disrupting peaker plants, turbine manufacturers, utility companies, and more, but the main company that Tesla is disrupting is Tesla itself. Each product they make and each technology they master is used as a stepping stone for something even bigger. Mastering Model 3 enabled making Model Y, and lessons gained in both enabled using megacastings. Mastering megacastings enabled moving to rear gigacastings and then forward ones as well. This enabled fitting the seats on the battery pack before marrying it with the chassis, and this opened the door to the latest disruption of unboxed manufacturing. Make no mistake, each and every step I listed is a major disruption by itself, one that would take decades for traditional OEMs to make. But it's not just manufacturing that is disrupted, because Tesla isn't bound to play in any specific field. It may have started as an EV company, but it then added an energy company, and then morphed into an AI company that is all in on autonomous driving and robo-taxis. And they could have stopped there, but instead they leveraged their mastery of real-world AI to start making Optimus. Each disruption builds on its predecessors, and each S-curve is larger than before. Optimus's S-curve is quasi-unlimited, potentially surpassing the size of today's global GDP. Paraphrasing something a friend of mine said, Tesla will be CHOAM and SpaceX the Spacing Guild. Let me know below who you think Kwisatz Haderach is. Tesla knows what traditional OEMs have long forgotten, that if you don't often disrupt yourself, others will do it for you. D. Cross-Pollinated. Wrapping Tesla and SpaceX in this dune analogy is fitting, because Elon's companies don't just grow independently, they create a technological ecosystem where each amplifies the others. This cross-pollination creates extraordinary engineering synergies. For example, Tesla's battery expertise enabled SpaceX to develop incredibly lightweight, powerful packs for rockets and satellites. And SpaceX's materials science revolutionized Tesla's manufacturing, enabling gigacastings and Cybertruck's stainless steel shell. Tesla's battery packs and motors helped the boring company revolutionize tunnel boring machines, and these machines then dug strategic tunnels under the road at Giga Texas. Even software innovations cross-pollinate. xAI's Grok is used on X and will soon control Tesla vehicles, while X provides Grok with training data, and very possibly so will Tesla cars. Even talent flows freely between companies. When Elon acquired Twitter, Tesla and SpaceX engineers helped transition it to X. When Tesla built its Cortex data center, xAI engineers helped accelerate the installation. Cross-pollination is constant and real. This creates an almost impenetrable technological moat. Competitors might replicate individual innovations, but matching the entire interconnected system is an entirely different challenge. How do you compete with a car company leveraging space-grade metallurgy? How can rocket companies match SpaceX using Tesla's mass manufacturing expertise? The implications are staggering. Each company's innovations become building blocks for the others, creating a compound effect that accelerates their collective progress. It's like having a technological library where every breakthrough immediately becomes available across multiple industries, enabling solutions impossible in isolation. What truly excites me as an engineer is how this creates technological independence. Each breakthrough reduces reliance on traditional infrastructure while enabling completely new capabilities. Tesla isn't just making better cars. They're building an entirely new energy and transportation ecosystem. SpaceX isn't just launching rockets more efficiently. They're developing the fundamental technologies needed for Mars colonization. In fact, all of Elon's companies converge toward Mars colonialization. Chapter 4. Systemic and Societal Change. Remember Machiavelli's warning about disrupting fundamental power structures? That's exactly where Musk's trajectory has led. Tesla isn't just disrupting automobiles. It's challenging oil companies, utilities, peaker plants, and turbine manufacturers. It sells without dealers, grows without advertising, and will soon disrupt ride-hailing and delivery services. And with Optimus coming, even human labor isn't exempt from disruption. But the disruption extends much further.
And no one thought it was possible to connect more than 30,000 of these with today's technology. From public reports, Elon, as he so often does, focused deeply on this, thought about it from first principles, how long it should take, the way it should be done. And he came up with a very, very different way of designing a data center. And he was able to make over 100,000 GPUs coherent. No one thought it was possible. There were all these articles that were being published in the summer saying that no one believed he was going to be able to do it. It was hype. It was, ridiculousness. And that was coming. The reason the reporters felt comfortable writing those silly stories is because engineers at Meta and Google and other firms were saying, we can't do it. There's no way he can do it. He did it. And I think the world really only believed it when, Jensen did that podcast with Kirshner and said what Elon did was superhuman. No one else could have done it.
xAI and Tesla shattered conventional wisdom by installing coherent clusters far larger than anyone thought possible. Going by analogy would have limited them to 30,000 GPUs, but Elon doesn't go by analogy. Starting from first principles, xAI and Tesla have already reached a coherent cluster of 100,000 GPUs and have a clear path to 1 million. Meanwhile, Neuralink is disrupting medical devices. Grok is disrupting LLMs by enabling topics others won't touch, and X is transforming social media and its approach to free speech. Elon has disrupted political campaigning and is currently busy trying to disrupt the role and operations of government. Remember Machiavelli's warning from our introduction? The strongest opposition comes when fundamental power structures are disrupted. Looking at the power dynamics being challenged, it's easier to list who isn't affected by Elon than who is. Yet, while disrupting core societal systems is the most difficult challenge, it's also where Elon's ability to innovate and disrupt truly shines. A. Corporate governance. Let's start with how Elon disrupted traditional corporate governance. While most companies limit investor call questions to prominent analysts, Tesla pioneered using the Say platform to get questions from retail shareholders as well. This seemingly small change fundamentally disrupts an age-old status quo in shareholder relations. And isn't it like Tesla to be among the first to adopt this? More importantly,
show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. Said by the great Uncle Charlie Munger, who's unfortunately no longer with us. But the idea is extremely powerful. Incentives are very, very powerful predictors of human behavior. And in business, if you have the right incentive in place, you can drive the exact desired outcome that you're looking to achieve.
Show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome. Incumbent companies often fail to innovate because their management compensation encourages risk-averse, short-term thinking. When CEO compensation is done by selling shares, they tend to optimize for quarterly results rather than long-term innovation. Elon's 2018 Tesla compensation package broke this model completely. He'd receive nothing unless the company met massive growth targets. No incremental rewards, no participation trophies. Like Alexander burning his ships, his only choice was achieving extraordinary growth or working years for nothing. This also mirrors another concept we've seen. Identify systemic constraints, like misaligned incentives driving short-term thinking, and then build new systems that make those constraints irrelevant. Just as Tesla bypassed dealer networks with direct sales, these governance innovations bypass traditional corporate politics. Even more radically, Tesla and SpaceX operate on 1,000-year timescales with detailed decade-long strategic plans, which are publicly shared. This transparency seems insane by traditional standards, but serves a vital function, creating perfect alignment between stakeholders. Everyone, from employees to suppliers to investors, knows exactly where these companies are heading. B. Social media. As an active Twitter user with millions of followers, Elon saw storm clouds gathering. Accounts were banned for posting the truth. Tweets were quietly suppressed, and freedom of speech was eroding. Not willing to risk losing his voice or letting others dictate public discourse, he purchased Twitter for $44 billion. Recognizing Twitter was overstaffed and many employees would resist change, he cut 80% of the workforce, a move the tech industry initially criticized but later emulated.
Our new Jesus Christ was Steve Jobs, and now Elon Musk has taken on that mantle, and every ridiculously mean, nonsensical, irrational move he makes is somehow seen as chess, not checkers. We're just not privy to his genius yet. This is an individual who has demonstrated a total lack of grace, has no guardrails around him, and is going to see his wealth probably cut in half. This is already the second worst acquisition in history just a week or 2 weeks after the close. The most significant on-the-ground impact or strategy of 2023 isn't AI, it isn't supply chain. Everybody in every boardroom has seen what Elon Musk has done. Specifically, he's fired 80% of his staff. He's taken the staff down from 7,500 people to 1,800, and he's going to 1,000. And there really isn't, from the consumer end, any discernible impact on the product. So in every board, people are asking themselves, how do we have the great taste of reduced costs without the calories of losing revenue?
He added paid membership options and refused to bend to advertiser pressure. He released the Twitter files and refused to bend to government pressure, except where required by law. He replaced fact-checking with the crowdsourced and AI-enhanced community notes system, a disruption which Facebook now plans to copy. He disrupted traditional news media by providing AI-based news reports. And he has started evolving X beyond social media into a comprehensive everything app. Reinventing Twitter removed a source of power from the hands of advertisers, government agencies, politicians, and legacy media. And as Machiavelli predicted, they did not take this without a fight. The frequency of attacks grew, and storm clouds started brewing. But although attacks increased, so did Elon's power. Previously, he had Tesla and SpaceX providing the funds, and government reliance on SpaceX provided some measure of preventing attacks. But with a social media platform under his control, the system is becoming anti-fragile, growing stronger under attack. See, storm clouds are gathering. As Elon's influence grew, resistance intensified. For example, traditional media adopted increasingly hostile stances. America's largest EV maker was excluded from White House EV summits, while GM was praised for leading electrification. Starlink lost government contracts for rural broadband internet, despite offering superior performance, lower costs, and faster deployment. SpaceX faced Catch-22 lawsuits over hiring practices, sued if they didn't hire enough asylum seekers, but equally liable had they hired non-Americans in defense technology. But the personal attacks were just part of the problem. Having built factories in both the West and China, Elon saw firsthand how overregulation was crippling Western progress. When getting factory permits takes longer in America than complete construction in China, and getting launch permits for giant rockets takes longer than it takes to build them, that's like ceding leadership to China. Elon wanted massive deregulation to occur and the attacks on him to stop. He realized that in the upcoming elections, continuing the Biden administration would greenlight the attacks to continue, and that the best hope for change would be with Trump. So what did he do? When people want a change of government, some do nothing and just hope things will play out. Others keep active through donations and rallies. But Elon did what he knows best. He analyzed the situation, assessed the risks, and then burned all his ships and went all in. D. Disrupting campaigning.
You just went more all in than I've ever seen anybody, ever. Did you ever doubt? Or did you just decide to go all in and you just did it?
I mean, my philosophy is you play to win. You don't play by half measure. So, yeah.
Elon's bet on Trump really was all in. With the burning boats analogy, had Trump lost, Elon's situation would have been much harder than had he not taken sides, so he had no choice but to win.
If he loses, man, what? You're fucked, dude.
I'm fucked. If he loses, I'm fucked.
It does seem that way. You can't just be like,
Yeah, I'm like, how long do you think my prison sentence is going to be? Do you think, will I see my children? I don't know.
When asked who she thinks would win the elections, progressive activist Brianna Wu said that despite the vibe leaning towards Trump, she still thinks the Democrats would win. Let's listen why.
You mentioned the election that's obviously looming in the future. You seem to think it's going to be close. You don't know. You're not making a call either way.
Well, let me tell you why. So elections do not come down to vibes. They come down to get out the vote. So what I mean by get out the vote is you build a relational database of contacts that you have from canvassing or relational organizing, which is you literally pay people to go contact 100 of their friends on Facebook and make sure they'll get out and vote. And the Democrats' data strategy this time around has actually been pretty good. So when I'm looking at the infrastructure we are building for the ground game in these swing states, I actually feel pretty positive about it. So our messaging, I think I would give a D- to. Joe Biden's ability to go out and make a coherent vision for the country, I would give an F to. But these like bread and butter tools to win an election, I actually think we're doing much better than Trump is.
Upon hearing this, I remember thinking to myself that Brianna is right. The elections would be decided in swing states, where Democrats had a dominant position on groundwork and voter mobilization. Since such groundwork takes years to achieve and Republicans lagged far behind, this could very possibly hand Democrats the win. Enter Elon. When it comes to breaking monopolies, he's like been there, done that. He realized that having a clear lead will likely push Democrats to limit risky innovation and keep using the same things that worked for them before. As we previously discussed, this makes monopolies ripe for disruption. But without years of groundwork, how do you build a database of who to remind when it's time to vote? And how do you get people en masse to leave home and do so? Elon used technology with a dash of social engineering. Leveraging his popularity, he started holding town hall meetings in Pennsylvania. And using his X account, he streamed them online. As we previously observed, disrupting the incumbents requires having a sense of urgency. To install this in voters, Elon used the town hall meetings to explain his views and stressed how important winning elections was in his eyes. He also encouraged people to not only vote, but also make sure that so does everyone they know. He arranged a petition to defend the Constitution and used it to get consenting voters' details. And when traditional media downplayed it with low coverage, he arranged a daily $1 million prize raffle between everyone that signs. He knew that the richest man giving $1 million prizes would be too rich a story for media to ignore. And he took place in rallies, showing his excitement and feeling of urgency. So when offered 2 administrations, one of which he considered a threat to progress, his companies and missions, and possibly to himself, Elon wasn't about to sit down and see what others decided for him. Determined to steer his own fate, he went all in, and the rest is history. Disrupting government. Elon suggested installing a new temporary department of government that would help increase government efficiency, reduce waste, cut government spending, and help deregulate. DOGE is unusual in many aspects. Unlike government agencies, which remain forever, DOGE is set to terminate after 1.5 years. This installs the sense of urgency required to make a change. It is headed by 2 people, not one, both doing it without compensation. It is blatantly transparent, leveraging X to publish everything they find or do. Just like he did in Twitter, Elon invited tech guys to give a hand. In Twitter, seasoned leaders such as David Sachs banded with expert software engineers such as George Hotz in a mission to transform the company. Similarly, besides Elon and Vivek, DOGE has the smartest guys in tech volunteering to help. Here's Mark Andreessen, DOGE's latest unpaid intern.
And then I would just tell you, like, without naming names of people that haven't been announced, but a lot of very smart people are putting up their hands and going in.
Excellent.
Sir, and by the way, to be clear, I'm not Doge. I'm an unpaid intern.
Yes. But we're having fun, Mark. Let's the details.
Vivek and Elon are running it,
Okay.
and then it itself is not getting set up as a permanent agency.
Right.
You're exactly right. It doesn't have the authority to execute on everything we're talking about.
Okay.
But the White House does, the executive branch does, and the president does. And so it will be as it should be. It will be a decision of the president on what he wants to do with these recommendations.
While few details have been leaked, there are talks of making government services more digital, improving customer service, and simplifying procedures. With government being the ultimate monopoly, there is little incentive for it to remain efficient and provide better service. So once disruption arrives, there are endless opportunities to improve. Viewing government as a business, with citizens its shareholders, DOGE is attempting to do board duty by ensuring that government actions are aligned with shareholder interests. Hopefully it will succeed and include legislation to ensure this alignment continues years after DOGE is disbanded. So that's what it set out to do, but will it be able to? I'll put politics aside and talk strictly tech. Had DOGE happened 10 years ago, there would have been many places where it could have helped. But harnessing the power of large language models and using AI to analyze and use big data, the possibilities for improvement now are almost endless. DOGE has arrived exactly when the time was right. The right time for DOGE is now. Chapter 5, Eruption. Analyzing Elon's systematic approach to disruption reveals something fascinating. He's created a process that's both repeatable and scalable. And although with disruptions there's no such thing as a cookie-cutter solution, Elon certainly knows the ingredients needed to enable them. The formula seems deceptively simple. Start by identifying industries protected by deep moats. Use first principles to bypass those moats with superior technology. Start at an underserved niche and start growing from there. Build independent infrastructure layers. Then systematically expand until the old system becomes irrelevant. But what makes this truly remarkable is how each disruption creates a foundation for even larger ones. We've watched this progression accelerate from online payments to electric vehicles, from rockets to satellite networks, and now to systemic changes in governance and society itself. The engineering implications are staggering. Traditional companies might spend decades optimizing existing systems, but Elon's approach of building parallel infrastructure enables exponential improvements. Instead of 10% better, we're seeing 10x transformations happen in timeframes that seemed impossible just years ago. Looking ahead, the convergence of AI, robotics, and distributed systems suggests we're approaching an inflection point where the pace of disruption itself gets disrupted. When Optimus starts mass production, when Starship enables true space industrialization, when Neuralink enhances human capabilities, each of these alone could reshape civilization. Together, they could rewrite the rules of what's possible. Close your eyes for a second and imagine humanoid robots building wheeled ones on Cybercab's unboxed production line. This will soon happen, and it's just the beginning. I am excited. How about you? If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Consider supporting me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or subscribe to me on X. Either way, you'll get ad-free access to all my videos, plus exclusive monthly patron-only content, so click the links below. A huge thank you to my latest subscribers on X, Simon H., Mike C., Jet, Treb, MKE Humanity Forward, Eric G., William F., Cameron C., and Aubrey F. And to my latest YouTube members and patrons, Bill E., RKV, Fred C., Dirk, Rod G., Larry T., Bill E., Richard P., Alpesh P., and Mike S. Your support makes these deep dives possible, so thanks guys. And to all my incredible patrons, you guys rock. Don't forget to visit Saily.com/dots or download the Saily app and use coupon code DOTS to travel connected with 15% off all data plans. For daily insights, follow me on X at x.com/connectingodots. Until next time, I am connecting the dots, and you are amazing.